and welcome everyone. Today we're going to try to make armor. Try because it's not sure that I'll be able to do it, but I'll try. So we're going to try to make arm guards because currently I don't have arm guards that fit properly. So instead of making them as classic arm guards, we can try to make splint arm guards. So splint is basically a kind of armor that is made up of strips of metal attached to some leather straps, instead of a classic arm guard that would rather have one metal plate that wraps around your arm. The reason why I'm doing this is because it's way easier to make splint arm guards than another classic arm guard, because I don't need to be bending or forging any steel to make them. So, anyways, let's jump right in. So, the starting material of this is sheet steel. So, this is a sheet steel that is 1.5 millimeters thick. Generally, good armor is going to be made out of 1.5 millimeter thick steel for arm guards, greaves, and stuff like that. And then breastplates and helmets will be made of thicker steel. I could make it out of 1 millimeter steel, but that would be less durable, and I'm not going to use all of this steel to make all of the arm guards. So if I can have some 1.5 millimeter steel to use for other projects, that's really nice. So I've cut out this piece of paper here, and this is the thing that we are going to make. So we're going to make several of those, and once we have a lot of those made out of metal, we are going to attach them with a leather strap to create the arm guard. So you can see that it's tapering, so it is 1.5 centimeters thick here. It is 2.25 centimeters right here, for a total length of 24 centimeters. So for the length, I figured this would be the best size compared to my own forearms. Of course, if you're making this, you might want to adapt this to the length of your forearms. And for the width of the plates, I basically searched online to see how wide the splints on historical arm guards were, instead of having to go through all the process of testing it to find out what is the best. Usually when you make armor, you should try to see how they were made historically for you to be able to have the best results as fast as possible without needing to test a lot. So that's what I did here. So I drew up some of those pieces here on the side here of the sheet, and we're going to start to cut those out. So I could use an angle grinder, but I'm afraid that it's going to be hard to get the line straight with the angle grinder, and it's quite important to get it straight right here. So instead, I think I'm going to be using a hacksaw, because I can be much more precise with it, and it's only 1.5 millimeter steel, so it should be rather easy to cut even with only a hacksaw. So I'm just gonna start to cut, and if it's just way too hard, I'm gonna maybe switch the angle grinder. We'll see. So I've been cutting for 10 minutes or so, and I've only come this far. At this point, I can't really be cutting any more with a hacksaw from this side, because the length between here and here is too long for what I can cut with the hacksaw. So I will have to wait until I've cut up here to be able to cut in from this side. So it's taking a long time with the hacksaw, but I think it's the only way to do it, because with angle grinder, I'm just going to be way too imprecise. So I'm just going to start with this one and just cut in on each of them, and then I can cut this part and cut them all off. So right now I've cut all the way up as far as I can on each of those splints, but I ran into a problem, and that is that my plan was to cut this line up and then from there cut in like this. The problem is that if I cut like here, I still have this piece of metal that's stopping me from cutting in. So somehow I have to cut this part here to be able to remove this whole piece here, on which I can then cut these lines here. I'll try to come up with an idea. So I came up with an idea. So of course, right now I cannot saw any further because this part of the saw is getting stuck. But what I am going to do is to use this saw here, which I can just stick right through and saw. I'm going to see how long it takes with this one compared to that one for this one cut right here. If it takes just way too long, I am going to use the other one to cut this line here, and then I can use this one to cut the other lines. But anyways, I have to use this one right here to cut this piece here, and I think that will work. Now, if you don't have such a thing like this, you can simply just remove the blade of the saw from this saw here and just use the blade to cut right here. It's less practical, but it still works. So I'm finally done with this cut here. Now I'm just going to cut this one, detach all of this, and then we can cut these one from this side here. Okay, so I just finished cutting out these five pieces here, and then off camera I went ahead and cut out 23 more. Now why 23, you may ask? Well, because I figured that we would need approximately 14 pieces per arm guard, and well, 5 plus 23 equals 28, which is 2 times 14, so 2 arm guards. Now, to cut out these 28 pieces, this took me a total of 5 hours, so we're 5 hours into the project. I figured that it would be interesting for you to know how much time these things actually take to make. Now, you may notice that we have a slight issue here. So this is 14 pieces laid out as an arm guard is going to look when we have attached everything together. And the issue we have is that since there is a taper on those pieces, okay, so right here we are at 2.25 centimeters across, and then all the way up here we are at 1.5 centimeters across. And this means that we get this curve when we line them up. And we get this curve up here too. And that's actually a problem, because if I have my arm out like that, these pieces on the sides are going to be the pieces that come on the inside of my forearm, which means that those spikes here, since I'm protruding because of the curve, are going to end up hitting my wrist and my palm whenever I bend my wrist. Now, I figured that this would be a problem, so what we're going to do is to just cut a straight line across like this, and actually cut off the end pieces here to get a straight line across, around the wrist, which is going to be way nicer for the wrist. And that is also going to allow us to shorten the side pieces, because of course this piece is 24 centimeters right now. If we cut off like 1.5 centimeters up here, that is going to affect the length, shortening it. And shortening the side pieces is actually a good thing, because obviously the inside of my forearm is shorter than the outside. So while 24 centimeters may be perfect for the outside of the forearm, it may not be perfect for the inside. So therefore, by shortening it here, we are making it better for the inside. Because of course it needs to be shorter on the inside, because I need to be able to bend my elbow and my wrist without it hitting the steel of the arm guard and without being stopped by the arm guard. So we're just gonna go ahead and cut this line across. We're gonna do the same on the other arm guard once I've assembled it. And yeah, I see you then. Okay, so I just traced the line across right here. And before I cut it, I'm going to mark each of those pieces so that when I put them back together, they're going to be in this exact alignment. So I don't need to use a ton of time to find out exactly where each piece goes. Okay, so they are both done. Now you may have noticed I have not done the middle parts here, and that's on purpose because there is just no way I can saw off so tiny pieces, so I'm just going to file them up with a metal file. Now, speaking about files, the next step is going to be to file all the edges of all those pieces to, first of all, make them sit more flush together, because right now there is just a little bit of gap in between each of them because of the sawing is a little bit wobbly, and there are just sharp edges everywhere that we need to get rid of. And yes, so I'm just gonna file off those pieces right there, file every corner smooth, and I'll see you when I'm done with that. Okay, so I've done the 3 first pieces. So as you can see, I have rounded all the edges, made sure that no one is sharp. And, well, I just have to do the other ones. Yeah, it will take some time. Patience is definitely the most important thing when making things. Okay, so I've smoothed out all the edges of all the splints of the right arm guard, but we have a slight issue, and that is that the side pieces out here on each side are a little bit too long. When I place them on my arm, it's very hard to bend both my elbow and my wrist without getting hurt by those pieces. So we have to shorten them a little bit. So I think that what we're gonna do is just add a slight curve up here to just shorten those side pieces a little bit more without shortening the middle pieces that are of the right size. So yeah, let's do that. Okay, so I did some testing on this piece right here, and I figure that the best option would be to remove 1 centimeter from each side of it. So that's what I did, and now this piece is the right size. Of course, we need to adapt that to the other ones, so I have traced these lines here that are showing exactly what I have to cut off. So I'm going to start cutting that off, and then we'll have to smoothen the edges of these pieces yet again. Okay, so we are 7 hours and 50 minutes of work into the project, and we have finished shaping up the right arm guard. We haven't even started with the left one. So I'm gonna do the left one off camera, and then when both are done, I'm just gonna explain the next step. Okay, so all the pieces have been shaped up, and they are all now ready for the next step. So I kind of lost track of time, but I think we are about 10.5 hours into the project, and we are ready to start the next step, which is going to be to drill holes in these splints to later attach them on a piece of leather. So for the size of the holes, we need to figure out what we're going to be using as rivets to attach the steel to the leather. So I'm going to be using this brass thing. So I have many of them, and I'm going to be using this as rivets. I'm going to make rivets out of them. So this is 3 millimeters in diameter, so we need to drill 3 millimeter holes in these splints. Next, we need to figure out where we're going to drill them. So we don't want them too far out to the edges, and we don't want them too far back. So all the holes we drill here are going to be used to attach these metal pieces to a sheet of leather, but they're also going to be used to attach the straps that we're going to be using to attach the arm guard to our forearm. So we need to figure out exactly where we want those straps to be, because we don't want them too far out on the edges, because then the middle of the arm guard won't be that well attached, and we don't want the straps to be too close to our joints, because then they will restrict our movements. So the first thing I'm going to do is, since we have a curve on both sides, I'm going to be tracing a straight line across, excluding that curve, so we can have a line from which to measure to get our rivets in a straight line instead of them following the curve. Now, I forgot to mention it, but I actually ended up trimming off an extra 0.5 centimeters off of these side pieces on each of them. And the reason why I did that is that trimming off only 0.5 centimeter from each side wasn't enough. There was still a little bit too long. So now we are at a total of 1 centimeter trimmed off from each side. So now the side pieces are 19 centimeters long, and the middle pieces are about 22.5. So we lost some length from the filing. I had predicted that, so that's not a problem. But I'm just telling you to which length we are right now, so you can adapt if you want to make these. Okay, so here's what I did. The lower line is just a line going across the arm guard, just to cut out the curving part, so we don't have to care for that, because we only want the straps to be where the flat part is. The upper of these lines is the same, only for the upper part of the arm guard. So I took that line and lowered it 1 centimeter just to get the strap a little bit further away from the wrist. And then 2 centimeters away from that line, I drew this one, because our straps are going to be 2 centimeters wide. So the two lines here represent the width of the strap. I did the same here, so this line here is 2 centimeters away from that one, and this width here represents the width of the strap that we were going to be using to attach the arm guard to our arm. So here and here are going to be the straps. Now, of course, the straps are not going to be running all the way across the arm guard. They are only going to be attached on the edges, because all of these pieces are going to be attached on a leather backing that is going to be under the metal. So right now what I need to do is just find the middle point in all of these squares here. So basically I just find the middle between this line, this line, this line, and this line, just to find the middle point, and there I'm going to drill a hole 3 millimeters in diameter that is going to be used to attach the metal piece to leather. So I found the middle here, so that is where I'm going to be drilling the hole. Now, if I just was to drill the hole straight on this Sharpie mark, I would have a very high chance to actually just slide away from it and get a very imprecise hole. So what I'm going to be doing is use one of these. Now, this is a center punch, so it's used to create a tiny little hole here that is going to guide the drill into the little hole, meaning that I get a much more precise drill. So right now I cannot really show you on this piece because I'm holding the camera and it won't be very precise, but if I show you on here, if I just press it down and I get a tiny little hole that I can guide my drill into. Okay, so all the holes have been drilled. The fit is perfect. I tried with this thing to just put them into the hole and just see how it fit. The fit is perfect. It's just a little bit hard to get them in, but that's exactly what we want, because we want a fit that's as tight as possible in order not for the rivets to be loose. So, I'm done with drilling the holes in this armguard. Now I can move on to this one. And well, when I'm done with that one, we can start the next step, which is gonna be hand sanding. Okay, left armguard also done. Now there's one thing I forgot to mention, and that is that I actually used two drills for drilling the holes. So the first one is a 1.5 millimeter drill, and then this one is a 3 millimeter drill, and I have them on two different machines. Now the reason why I did that is because drilling straight away with a 3 millimeter drill is going to take a ton of time, because, well, you need to remove 3 millimeters of material. If you start with a 1.5 and then use the 3 millimeter to widen the hole, it's going to take you much less time. And then, of course, I have two different machines, so I don't have to switch the drills all the time. So, yeah, that is definitely something you should do. Now, if you don't have two different drilling machines, I would just recommend drilling 1.5 millimeter holes, and then once you're done with all the splints, just change to a 3 millimeter drill and just widen all the holes. Now we can move on to the next step, which is going to be hand sanding all of those pieces. Now we have to hand sand the edges here, because the filing on the flat here, we have a little burr on the side, which just makes a little sharp edge that we want to remove. So we need to remove that, and of course we have the burr around the holes we drilled, and we just have to hand sand the whole piece just to get it to look nice. So yeah, let's just start straight away with that. So I just wanted to show you a little tip with hand sanding. So when you have an edge like that on which you want to sand, usually you're just going to take a piece of sandpaper and just rub it across, right? Now the problem with that is that since this edge is so thin, you're very quickly going to cut this sandpaper. And there's a way to prevent that, and that is actually just by putting duct tape on the back of this, and that will add a lot of strength to the sandpaper, and it won't break so fast when you are using it. So that's something you can do if you have problems with your sandpaper breaking when you are sanding with it. And now these pieces of sandpaper are way more solid. Okay, so I have been sanding for quite a while. I completely lost count of the time, but I think we are about 12 hours of work into the project. So I have completely finished one of them. It's looking nice. But what I ended up doing, instead of just going straight for sandpaper, I actually filed the edges of these pieces because they were so rough that I just used way too much time if I only used sandpaper. So I filed the edges and then I sanded them to spare some time. Now I've done the edges of these 3 pieces right here. This one's completely finished. But I'm using quite a lot of time for this, and I had completely forgotten it, but I actually have something that can make me do it way faster. This, a sort of belt sander. So I'm going to be using this instead. I'm going to be putting a quite smooth belt on this, and it's just going to make the work way faster. Of course, you don't need this. Using file and sandpaper works perfectly fine, but this is just way less time consuming, so I'm just going to be using this. Okay, so I've come pretty far. I've done 9 of these splints out of 14. On the right brace, I've done nothing on the left, but I have come pretty far on the right. Problem is, this machine stopped working. It just began smoking, and it stopped work. So I've let it cool down a little bit, and I'm just going to try to dismantle it, because I think that the problem is going to be that there is dust inside, and the dust just stopped the system from working, and therefore it started smoking because the dust started to burn. So I'm going to try to just open it and repair it, and we'll see if it works. Okay, I opened it up. There was a ton of dust inside, so I removed it. I oiled it, and now it is working. Hopefully this lasts. I'm just going to try to continue to grind, and if it stops working again, then there's probably another problem. We'll see. So, this machine ended up working completely fine. The only problem was probably the dust, and since I removed it, everything's fine. So yeah, it works fine. It's great. Then we have finished all the work on these metal pieces here. They are completely hand sanded, everything's done. I polished them up because, of course, the finish from the machine isn't that great, so I polished them up. Everything's done on them, and they are looking very nice. So right now, all of the work on all of the metal is done. The only thing we have to do left is the leather, attach the metal to the leather, and make straps to attach the arm guards when they are done. That's all we have left to do. However, I think we're going to do that in another video because currently the video is already pretty long, and well, I'm publishing the video tomorrow, so I won't have time to finish the arm guards before I actually publish the video, and I need to have the time to edit it. So yes, I'm gonna make a part 2 next week. However, in this video, I will be putting in the description all the details about all of the metal pieces. So the length, the width, the taper, what I ended up trimming off, and so on. So if you want to make these arm guards, you have all the information you need. Oh, and I forgot to mention it, but at this point, remember that you don't have any marks on the splints showing you in which way they have to go. So really be cautious about, once you remove one to do something on it, place it back at the exact same spot before taking another one, or you'll probably end up getting the order wrong, which wouldn't be so nice. So anyways, just be aware of that if you want to recreate these arm guards. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. I am extremely pleased with the result. Well, I'll see you next week for part 2.